Right, welcome back. Delboy guys. Now part 18 today of Project Rat Trailer. We've got to a bit of a milestone at this point. Now we've bought this thing quite a while ago for £49, £45 and spent probably that much again, maybe a bit more on it, and taken it from a wreck, a raggedy old horrible thing, into what it is now, which is a perfectly usable, perfectly serviceable trailer which I could use in any situation for anything, in a car, tow behind, whatever. Meaning that phase one of the project is now complete. I can now tow this, it's now ready, and I want to now move into phase two, which is to get the thing decorated how I want it to, so it matches the bike. Kind of rat trailer thing, bit of decoration, but also some very serious protection for the wood, because the wood is extremely soft pine, super lightweight stuff, which is great for indoor use on the side of your bath or whatever, but it's not so good for a trailer unless it's properly protected. It wasn't channelized or pressure treated in any way. The original wood on the trailer was marine ply, and that was rotted out. So if marine ply can rot out, then this stuff can rot out in a week. So I've really got some work to do to protect this, and I've come up with a brilliant plan. Slightly by accident, I have a very special shop, a very fabulous surplus type store, which I know it's not surplus as in military surplus, but it's surplus as in surplus hardware. They buy up used and bankrupt stock, weird things from over-orders on jobs, and you just go in and have a little rummage, and they have some amazing things. Now, the blackboard paint comes from them normally, and I've got about half a tin or so of this, and this stuff's like mayonnaise. It's very thick, so it will thin down, so I'm pleased I've got plenty. I went in to get some more and they didn't have any, just a little soppy tin, and it was quite expensive in small quantities. Just looking around with my mate John, Pucker Pie, my mate, I'll be watching, found this, and I'll show you in a minute. I found something rather amazing which is going to be absolutely perfect for the job, and on top of that I want to show you another little tip, something I've done a few times in the past under cars, classic cars especially, to protect it underneath. And before I go any further and start doing the creative makeover, I've really got to protect it properly. So it's kind of ready to go into phase two, but the first part of phase two is really protecting it. So it's kind of a tail end, it's kind of a blend in between one and two. So a little bit of rubbish waffle there really, but you get the point. So there we are, stick around, stay tuned, as Dan says, and let's see what happens. Right, so that's where we are at the minute. A fully finished trailer. Point I made, like I said, I can tow this now. I could just hitch it up to the van and tow it down the road. Light board on the back, job's a good one. But the wood is not really protected enough, so that's kind of the link bit. Once the wood's protected, then I can start doing silly decorating things, but that really is important to get that properly impregnated, and I've got something very special for it. Got these bolted on, got this little doobie thing on the bottom, got it bolted up neatly underneath, a couple of big munters with some Loctite on them and some spring washers. Cleaned all that off, didn't really film that, wasn't really important. Don't want to film too many parts of the same little things. Also, these, I've bunged these on now, greased up the hubs, and that was again a messy, boring job, so I didn't really bother filming it. Pumped a load of grease into the grease nipples, and then till it all squeezed out. And I kept squeezing it out until the old black grease came out and the kind of clean stuff started coming, quite obvious, really, a bit of common sense, and just hammered these in. They're soft plastic, which is quite handy. You just beat them in with a rubber mallet, so they do the job a treat. All in now, looking good. So they're quite solid. That is it, that finishes the trailer. Like I said, phase one of the trailer is complete. That's it, that's now a completely usable, towable item. Just a bit scruffy because it's still in primer and bare wood. So that's the next phase, and this is what we've done. I've been along to my favourite surplus store, and I scored this, which is awesome. Cementone bituminous paint. Bitumen black waterproofing paint for wood and metal. Sounds like it's almost made for the job. Made for the job. And the best part of all, $7.99. That half gallon is $7.99. That's nothing. Now it's very runny, and I'm guessing that is it. It's not thick. When you stir that at the bottom, I've opened it up, given it a stir. There's no thick bits at the bottom. It is one consistency all the way through, and it's very thin. Probably, I would say, that is almost sprayable as it is. In fact, it does say so on the back that you can spray it without thinning. And I'm guessing it's the same concept as the paint wash that I did. When you water it down, it ingresses.
into the surface better. It's a thick paste like mayonnaise. It just makes a skin that lays on the top and it doesn't bond properly. So perhaps that's why, but it does say there that it should cover something like 4 to 6 square meters per litre, and there's 2.5, so that's, Christ, it's about, what is that, 15 square meters, and there's only 1 in the bottom, 2 the underside. There's about 4 or 5 square meters tops in the whole trailer, so I'm going to have enough to do several coats. And another little fun thing which I've done, or I'm going to do in a minute and show you. First thing I've got to do though, which is important obviously, as my mate Bacon Soda said, Brendan, take the bloody mudguards off because you've got to paint underneath them. I did intend to, Brendan, all along. This is kind of a dry build, I just wanted to get them fitted. And another one from my mate Nelly, I did put big plate washers on. As you can see, obviously if I hadn't, it just would have screwed right through and sucked them in. So I'm going to take all these off, strip the mudguards off because I'm going to paint the outside and then the underside, and I've got something fun to do with the underside which might bring back a few memories. Alright, put yours up in the gallery for this one. As I said, I've already had this open and it's funny enough actually, never used bitumen paint, but you can tell it is because it smells exactly like tarmac, tar macadam, whatever you want to call it. Now, the simplest thing, as you can see there, it really is. That's the consistency of it all the way to the bottom. There's no thick bits in it at all. So what I'm going to do, just going to get a little bit of it in this tub. As you can see, I've had a little practice. You see what we're going to do in a minute. It's probably just going to put a couple of tablespoons in. Let me show you this little trick. Now I've been down the beach, which I don't know if it's allowed or not, but I don't really care. Because we live near the beach. Take the grass out of it, and I got some sand, just some beach sand. And bear in mind this is going underneath the trailer. This will give me kind of nice thick paste, and it's kind of at this point you realise it's quite handy that this stuff is really sort of watery, because the sand, as you can see, thickens it right up, makes it like a paste. I'm just going to probably make myself a whole one of these to the right consistency, and then see what it paints on like. Never know, might be a disaster yet. Let's see how it goes. I suppose the idea is if this comes up too rough, too sandy, I suppose I can just whack a layer of this straight over the top, which is why I'm not putting sand in the tin. I want to keep the main reserve of paint completely uncontaminated, just in case this doesn't work, or in case the sand turns it a bit funny or manky or something. Right. I don't think you're allowed to take sand off the beach. I did get a few funny looks putting this all in the bag. I just made out I was clear enough after a dog, a really big dog that's had a really big dinner. So, bit of the beach sand, finest Bournemouth beach sand. Just kind of going for a, I don't know, porridge type consistency, because I want to really layer it up, but at the same time leave it runny enough to still ingress. I don't want to make it so thick it won't sink into the wood. Adds a lot of body as well. So it bulks out the paint quite a lot. just making a, so this is just a makeshift undersill really. You could use it on your car. You know, bitumen paint's always going to keep the water out. It works on the roof of your house. It's going to work under your old trailer. And I reckon that, get in there, perhaps just a bit more. Yeah, that's about it. And like I said, it's probably going to dry matting, satin even, or possibly a bit glossy, which is a bit posh, but we'll soon sort that out with a coat of blackboard paint over the top, which will double make sure. This also, I've got a feeling this might stay a little bit sticky once it's dried or cured. I've got this view that it might still be tacky forever, which bitumen kind of does get, which again, no problem, should be able to seal it with a layer of blackboard paint. I reckon that's about right. So let's prep the trailer, brush it on. Right. Okay. So let's bring it over. That's what I'm going to do tonight. Just going to do the underside. All of that. Just getting in here. Just making sure that all this is covered with the right paint. Probably won't do the wheels. There's no need to do them. I'll just take the sandy stuff out to there. Probably at the most. Because wheels are wheels. They don't really need to worry about rot on wheels. Again, like this, it's not going to rot, but might as well lay it over so it's one clean finish. It's the wood that needs it the most. This stuff is just 10mm thick pine, and it proper needs that protection. I reckon that Sandtex is going to do the job. So let's get stuck in. Alright, let's see how this goes on. Well, it's sandy. I like that. You can kind of see the orangey brown coming out that the bitumen is. With enough sand it goes quite hard, or forms this paste which it just sort of spreads or travels on. So there you go, a little tip. Just go and get some sand off the beach, or if you don't live near a beach, builder's yard. Stick it in some bitumen paint. Kind of sinks to the bottom of the sand, I suppose the paint comes to the top. But work it out. And try and get it right in that gap as well. Stop the water getting in. Seems to spread into gaps quite nicely. So it's working it into those joints underneath the wood up against the glue, so that's properly sealed. The first trough gone, about halfway. Time to reload the magazine. As well as painting it on, I'm kind of whacking it in all the little joints and filling up all the gaps in between the floor and the chassis, if you like. Just with this stuff, it's bound to set eventually. Even if it takes 3 months, it will set at some point, and then it will be completely impervious. Get in there. A lot of it it squirts in there quite well. There must have been a gap there. Sort of push it in. Right, so there we go, that's about it. Good old coat of underseal. I'm going to leave it down there tonight because a lot of it's thick, kind of spread into the corners, and it will harden off eventually. It will probably take a while, but it will harden off, at least 48 hours before I do anything with that. The solution, if it goes a bit glossy, is, like I said, just some blackboard paint over the top, which will make it all chalky and white, and also it will make it a little bit less sharp. But there we go. That's it. Episode 18. The first instalment, if you like, in the colour and the makeover and what it's going to start looking like. So that's the first little bit of black, which is pretty cool to get that on there. Could do the inside of the mudguards, and we've got some good fun stuff for the sides and for the inside as well, so to keep that all under wraps until it comes out. So there you go, that's the first one. Sand in your bitumen paint makes a fantastic underseal. I've used it before, it does go rock hard. If it's a bit sharp and dusty and you can kind of scratch the sand off, you just pop another coat of bitumen neat over the top and it buries it in, and it is very, very resilient to just about anything. It makes it almost submersible once it's done. So there you go. Thanks for tuning in and watching Delboy's Garage. I always appreciate the support. Ride safe, and I'll see you next time.